Wilson County News, and we're just a local, nonpartisan organization. We got our mission statement back there if anybody is interested. We are a Tea Party organization, but we are completely nonpartisan. Believe in fiscal responsibility, constitutionally limited government, free markets, and traditional American values. And it's just like most groups, we don't take sides, and we haven't made decisions here. One of the things we like to do in our mission is to help educate the public of what's going on. And I thought this was a pretty good opportunity to get the judge out and talk before this very critical election. So thanks for coming on out. Before I go into the rules, I would like, and thanks to Aline because she's keeping me straight on this, we've got some elected officials here, and we've got some folks who are running the positions, and I just want to recognize them. Paul Sack, Paul, running for place 4, John Guerrero, current place 4 councilman. Also, Mario Moronis is here, right, Mario? Right, there you are, place 2. Thanks for coming. One who I have just first time met tonight is Audrey Lewis. Audrey Lewis. She's the assistant district attorney, and will be with Marvin. And if there's any legal questions, I guess to talk about. So thanks for coming out. Then we have Larry Wiley. Larry, there you are. Get behind me. Precinct 4 commissioner. And then Jim Miller's here. Jim, right here. Place 1 for the council. So, thanks for all the elected officials tonight. Before I just turn it over to Elaine for a few quick remarks from the Wilson County News, I just thought I'd state kind of the rules that we're going to go by tonight. Really 2 rounds. Okay, first round. We'll just have Judge Quinney and any elected official that he wants with him to explain this upcoming certificate of obligation. Give him some time to do that. We will then follow with joint questions that were prepared by TCG and the Wilson County News, and the 2 reporters, Ashley, I'm sorry, Ashley Davenport and Will Gibbs will be asking the questions of the judge and the people up here. Then, when that's done, and no later than 8 o'clock, we'll open it up to questions for the public. And just thought we'd keep it in that order, give the judge and the county officials complete time to explain this very critical vote that's coming up, and some of the questions that we've come up with, and then just entertain any questions you folks may have. So, before we kick it off, Elaine, do you have any comments for the?
Just briefly, thank you, Judge, commissioners, and all the other elected officials for being here. We know your schedule is very busy, and we appreciate you coming out and sharing information with those who are interested in learning more about the upcoming election, the certificate of obligation for $8.5 million. It is an important vote, and it is important to the future of Wilson County, possibly to the future of your taxes. So, as you gather here tonight and gain the knowledge that you're seeking, I also hope that you will gain the wisdom to understand that even if you disagree politically, it should not be taken personally. And the wisdom to understand that we are all here for the same purpose, which is to make a better future for ourselves and all the generations to come. So thank you very much.
Okay, without further ado, Judge, you want to take it?
Let me just kind of lay it out just a second here from where I stand, and then I'm going to ask Ms. Audrey and our architect and Mr. Wiley to come help out with any comments they might have. And by the way, the other day we did this at the Chamber of Commerce, and Audrey just happened to be there at the chamber. She was able to have input from the criminal justice facility. She wasn't here to answer the legal questions, but to explain the importance of the judicial complex to what our judicial system is. But first of all, let me just say that I appreciate very much the opportunity to be here. We probably are going to, this is probably going to be one of the most important votes that we will have in many years. In 2011, we moved out of the courthouse because of cracks that had come into the northwest side of it. Those cracks continued to grow, and we had a firm come in and check, and they put expansion tape on it, determined that it was growing and the hazard was real. So we moved out. We was fortunate enough to lease the school building that the school had moved out of for a year. At that time, the trustees began to look and say that we should be getting more money for this. That they had given it to us $50,000 a year that school. And we was very appreciative. You have to realize, though, a few years back, when the school was looking for a place to build an alternative center, the county needed 5 acres to them. So it's been working with the school, it's been a win-win for the taxpayers of the county. So whenever they decided that they were going to need more money, well, we purchased that block of buildings plus a half block across it for $1,075,000. Before we could have built something to move our offices into to carry on county business would cost us that at least. So we felt very comfortable with that. The courthouse itself has been outgrown for many years. It's an 1884 courthouse. It served the county very well throughout those years. The district courtroom where the district judges hold court is almost impossible to secure the way it's laid out. Now, it could be altered and changed to where it could be secured, but it'd be at a great expense. The facility that we bought over there has a cafeteria on one end of it, and then a hallway and classrooms on both sides on that side of it. Our architect, Mr. Lyndsay Thorn there, did some drawings, raised the roof on that cafeteria to add a holding cells and a salad board, bring prisoners in there where it's secure. There's not, as it was over here, the prisoners were driven up, taken out of the car, and led through the crowd up to the courtroom. And it's been that way for many years. And I'll leave to Ms. Lewis to point out as to what they're doing now, holding court in a small courtroom and the problems that they have, and I'll let her explain that to you. But I feel like that we're very fortunate that things have aligned like they are. The $8.5 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to anybody, anything. But one of these facilities in other counties is costing that to build that at this time. We were fortunate to have a school that has the brick and mortar in place, the steel, all of the water utilities and everything there, so it makes a tremendous difference. Now, the library group has been meeting for years to plan and to build a library. And they wanted a pretty extravagant library. But when they looked at the building we were in, they were very satisfied with that would meet their needs. So the library, the courthouse, the criminal justice facility, all are going to be in that neighborhood. The projected cost now is something over $9 million. We've spent over $700,000. And that's been for excavation around the courthouse to determine a well drilled there to determine the soil content. The bricks there are subpar. They were tested. We've had engineers shoot grades. We've had x-rays of the slabs over there to make sure that they would hold the structure that would be on them. So I don't know how anything could have fell in place better. Now, one question that's come up, and I was going to wait until it came up to answer it, but I'll just go ahead and give part of it now. On the ballot itself, it shows animal control, we originally started this, of course, we hoped we were gonna be under budget, we may be able to build it and have money left over, and once you get this money, you have to have a way to spend it. So, our financial advisor held a meeting, asked us what our future needs was, and it was animal control, one of them. And roads is always a need. I mean, everybody will tell you that right up front. So, anyway, I don't know, he contacted the paper and had that put in. And when I saw it was on there, my gut feeling told me, get it taken out, but I didn't follow it. Well, that was utilized when the petition was going around, and some people said that we was going to put a kill facility in that was going to be just kill, and all that. So the animal rights people come out and said, look, we can't have that, and they signed off on it based on that. But now it's being used in a matter that, well, you're saying in the ballot that we're going to have animal control and we're going to have roads out of this money. And in the meeting, you said, I'm going to tell you right now, somebody wrote on the website today that if you feel like we need a courthouse, criminal justice facility, and library, go vote on it. But do not vote on it because of animal control or roads. They're absolutely right. They mean it derogatory, but that's correct. And we do need those things. And right now, I'm going to yield and you want to take a question now? You want somebody else to speak now? Or what?
Well, it's up to you.
Would you like to speak?
want you to be able to explain, and then when you're satisfied with the explanation, we'll have some questions and then turn it over to Paul.
I don't know that I have anything that I can add of any significance. The judge hit all the points on the head. Our county, with the last census, had roughly 43,000 citizens. We had a growth rate the last decade of 33%. That followed another decade that had a 30+% growth. If you go further back, and I may not be exactly right on these numbers, I looked them up, but I don't have them with me. In 1980, I believe the county was around 18,000 citizens. Now we're at 43. If you follow those numbers forward by 2030, 17 years from now, if we have the same type of growth, we'll be in excess of 75,000, and another 10 years, we're over 100,000. District, I still think of myself as a new commissioner, and I guess I'm not, in my second term. One of the things that I saw early on when I was elected is that one, the courthouse, the old courthouse was not large enough to take care of our needs. And district court was having problems. Before the old courthouse fell, we looked at some alternative locations to expand the courthouse. When it fell, well, then all that stopped right there. Unfortunately, as we go forward, the need for security in the district courtroom is going to be much greater than it has been. It's just, read the news. We are not the 18,000 population county we were in 1980, and certainly not the county that I grew up in. And it's going to continue. I didn't grow up wanting to be a commissioner. I was a businessman who moved back here to retire and saw a need and have a wife who's very persuasive. And here I am today. But the thing that motivated me to get involved in this is my family's been here forever, since before this county was a county. The cornerstone of the courthouse bears the name of one of my ancestors who was the commissioner when that was set there. This county means a lot to me. And I think as what I wanted to be a part of is taking a look at where we've been. You never want to forget that. You want to remember that. You want this county to take that and to go forward into the future with its best foot forward. This project is part of that best foot forward. We cannot continue to operate, in my opinion, the way we did in 1980 when we're moving forward. And I really don't have anything else to add at this point.
For those that I tried to introduce myself earlier, and I couldn't hear your introduction. I'm the Assistant DA for Wilson County. Our District Attorney's Office, Renee Pena, who's the elected DA, we cover 5 counties. We cover Wilson, Karnes, Atascosa, Frio, and LaSalle counties. So our coverage is vast and includes other jurisdictions besides my home county. This is where I was born and raised. So, but when I came to the chamber lunch, I was there for a completely, setting up an advocacy center, there for something completely different. Heard them talking about this and just felt compelled to kind of give more information and insight, because I don't think, if you're a normal citizen of this community, you probably don't go to district court very often. Is there anyone here who has been to district court? And that doesn't mean you're not normal, but is there anyone here who's been to district court lately?
I'm not late.
Okay, within the last 2-3 years, since we've been over at the jail. Okay, yes, sir. And if you have, were you as a juror or on a civil matter or something you don't want to discuss?
No, I was just a lawyer hanging out watching.
Okay. Okay, well, that's kind of sick of you to do that. But nonetheless, most of us, you don't want to be in district court. And unless someone in your family is either, there's a civil lawsuit going on or a family law matter, or unfortunately, if you're dealing with either being a victim of a crime or you're the offender or the offender's family member, you're not in district court, so you don't kind of know what goes on every day, and that's probably most of us. My family doesn't really understand and fully grasp what I do and have been doing for the last 13 years. That's normal. But what you guys need to know for purposes of how do I need to vote on this matter, and I'm not here to say you should or shouldn't, because that's not what I'm here to tell you, but I want you to understand kind of where the court system is at this point, because part of my job is to administer justice and to make sure the justice is served. That is the oath that I took. And right now, we don't hold court in the courtroom. I mean, the courthouse is essentially condemned for purposes of court. There is no court going on in that courtroom. And we held court in there until that time. And even then, it was not truly, it could be very difficult and tasking at times to fit everyone that we needed in court in that courtroom. But now we hold court over at the jail in what was designed as a justice of the peace courtroom. So it is essentially made up, folding chairs just like this, and they have a wooden bench up front where the judge sits and a place for a witness to sit. But it is pretty much this. It's a makeshift courtroom that we are trying murder trials in. Sexually abused children, molested children are being testified, coming to jail, testifying in court there. This is where it happens. We summons 200 people for jury duty for these types of cases. And there's nowhere near that kind of room if we had all 200 show up. They don't all show up. So, but when they do, we do have those big dockets on those days. It's so big, if we have jurors, we have to tell the jurors either you stay out initially so we can have the defendants come in so we can figure out who's there for court that's supposed to be there, or vice versa, because we can't fit everyone in there. And on a normal day where we're not even having jury trial, our dockets have increasingly, with population growth, unfortunately comes crime growth, right? And if you read the paper, you can kind of get an idea of the drug problems that we have here, and other issues that go on. And unfortunately, our docket reflects that. And so we've added in our office a second prosecutor for Wilson County because of that growth rate. And so our dockets, criminal case day, the judge will call the docket, and we will have to go outside the courtroom to see if there's people sitting out there that are coming in to answer for the charges they've been charged with, because they can't all fit the courtroom. So it's kind of, it creates issues and it creates problems in administering justice. So it's not an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination. And defense attorneys, we've even had, on a murder case recently, we've had defense attorneys commenting to Court of Criminal Appeals and other places saying about how shabby they can't believe our system is, and how when they meet with the judge and the prosecutor in the room, that it's a room filled with boxes and it's not even a courtroom and things like, I mean, it's very, it makes us look bad. It's essentially. And so, you know, and we explain to other defense lawyers from out of town that this is not a permanent solution. This is where we are temporarily, in hopes that something better is going to happen. But that's what we've got right now. And I guess, you know, from my perspective, we have to move forward because we can either stay behind and we're gonna get drugged forward, or we need to be kind of progressing with the population growth and the continued growth, and unfortunately, the continued criminal enterprise that's gonna continue to happen here. The crime's not gonna go away. So, I wish it were, and I could find something else to do, I promise. But it's not. So, and to have one courtroom that essentially, right now, the way we do it is, we'll hold district court 1 to 2 times a week, and that has to be scheduled around the county court schedule, around the JP schedule, because we're all kind of using the same courtroom. Sometimes they, county court will use commissioner's courtroom over in the annex to try to do that. I went in there to meet the other day, and they were holding county court, and they have people outside lining the hallway all the way down and outside because they don't have enough space to house the criminals that are there to answer their charges. So I just want to give, I don't think that most normal people probably are aware that that is kind of where we are in the state of our district court at this point. But it's going to continue to grow. Civil cases are going to continue to grow. It's not going to go, we're not going to go back. I don't see that ever happening. So our office continues to kind of grow, to progress with that. The district attorney's office is not at the courthouse at all. We are over on 3rd Street, kind of over by the White House, if you know where that is. And our office is in a building where we've outgrown it to the point where we have cubicles for lawyers, and we have another investigator that's now housed over in Pleasanton because we don't have space for them to be in our office. So we've outgrown, we're all in there like sardines too. And I think it's important for our county. It's certainly a good idea. We want the DA's office here as opposed to one of the other 4 counties we have, because it gives you guys access more conveniently than having to drive to Carnes or Escos or that. If you have issues or a victim of crime, you're here to meet with your DA. So that's just my 2 cents.
Ms. Audrey, we appreciate you very much.
Sure.
If you haven't done so, can you put your phones on mute, so turn them off, and then we'll turn them back on.
I want to take just a minute and introduce our architect. Before I do, I want to tell everyone that we had a committee put together to pick an architect, and there were several RFQs that came out. And I was not on that committee, but had I been on that committee, he's the one I would pick. Guadalupe County has used him on a number of projects that very highly. They've gone back time and time again for those projects. So, Ms. Thorn, anything you'd like to say? He won't have an accent.
You're well in line. Excuse my voice. Connie Teller, not from here, but my background, I come from a military and army background. From San Antonio 20 years ago. As soon as I arrived here, I sort of found a home. There's a lot of similar upbringing that I had. One thing I think that this county and Guadalupe has done the same thing. I think they need to be rewarded for the way they're looking towards the future. There's so many counties, cities around the United States that simply look away at old buildings and neighborhoods. The old town planning of how cities grew from nothing to where they are today. And look at putting new facilities outside town. I don't think the synergy is the genesis of how a town will be created. I come from a very historic background. I've done work on buildings dating back to the medieval days. Cut my teeth on the time period, and the period we're dealing with here is the Victorian time of 1880 courthouse. I think the commissioners and judge need to be really rewarded for looking at it slightly differently, utilizing a lovely courthouse which we have, which is actually is in pretty good shape. It really is. We're having a little problem on the corner that we're going to rectify, but the main bones of the courthouse is in great shape. It's a beautiful one. As the judge said, the brick plant when they built it, they built three counties, county courthouses at the time from that brick they used. It was a very big wall brick. As soon as they finished this courthouse, they shut the brick plant down. So about back in the 30s, they went and stuck with the building. It was actually a brick clad building at the time, but they stuck with it to basically keep the whole thing together because it's a very porous, very soft brick. And again, that's a lot of the contributory factor to the settlement we're having on the front left corner as you see the courthouse. And what we're doing in the first phase, we're going to rectify that. The overall master plan of the beauty of us having the old school down the road here, which is now been purchased by the county, it gives us great flexibility for the future of the county. We can put, and we have planned, we looked at master planning the whole deal because it's unique to have a property that has accessibility from four sides, basically four buildings facing each four sides. It gives us great flexibility of use. Plus we have that huge area in the middle that could be future expansion for the court facilities in years to come. But looking at it from a pragmatic point of view, which is why I always look at it, I'm not only an architect but also a contractor as well, and one of the rare ones. So I actually design things and think of the cost. We looked at, we have the future expansion capabilities on two sides that won't be utilized in the current plan. We'll have temporary facilities there on 3rd Street for the elections. But for the most part, where the local government, county government sits now with the Commissioners Court, we're looking at that building wing there as being the library. And then as the Judge mentioned, towards the back of the property, where the old cafeteria was and the old school wing, that will be the new courtroom, Sally Court, and temporary holding cells while court's in progress. Running along the back side of the street then we'll also have the adult probation and the district clerk's office, and then coming up the other side then will be the district attorney's office. We've designed into the existing plan that we have the ability for expansion for the next, at least next decade. That still gives us basically half of the buildings on the property still haven't been utilized, so that's future expansion for the next 30 plus years, maybe even more. We've been doing a lot of study with, for example, in Guadalupe County, of future expansion capabilities, expansion needs of the county and its facilities. The Texas jail standards have been very good to deal with. They've been turning a blind eye to a lot of our local counties that haven't had the funds or haven't had the ability to take care of the security needs that's been desperately needed. Guadalupe County, for example, up to recently, they've been transporting prisoners in chains through hallways with ladies and children in strollers and what have you. And so they've really tried the best they can, but it's getting to a point, it's getting to that pinch point now where something needs to be done. To give you some idea of building costs these days and development costs these days, new facilities, for example, Hayes County's new courthouse, I don't know if people have seen that one, that big monster over there west of 35. That's a huge facility that I think it was around about the $35 to $40 million mark. Basically, 2.5 times what we're looking at doing in Guadalupe County and the same that we're doing here. Some recent numbers that are out right now on the library facilities. Guadalupe County are putting in Seguin, they're looking to put a library together there, and that's around about $360 a square foot. We're looking for what we're having here with the existing envelope that we have, the buildings we have, are at half that. So I think the county's been extremely careful with the money that we have. We're using it wisely. not just hit carte blanche decisions to build out a town that takes the focus away from local businesses downtown and the synergy of how downtown operates. That's something that's very important to me. I come from a very historic area, and I come from a town where they missed the boat back in the 80s. And I've shared the story before. I was back there a year ago, and I walked through my old Victorian town centre, and out of 150 shops I walked by, 2 were local. The whole town is just dead now. And I think we've been extremely wise in taking this approach to keep everything focused in downtown. Get the courthouse back in operations for Commissioner's Court and local government down there, and adapt the block 3 blocks away for the rest of government. I think that's about it.
When you talked about the district courthouse, you mentioned the Sally Port, and that was not a term that I was familiar with prior to becoming commissioner. And there may be folks here who do not know what a Sally Port is.
Yes, sorry, but it's basically we're adding a building to the side of where your cafeteria currently is, and that will actually be, it's a building where you would bring detained prisoners in a secured vehicle, prisoner van. They're then escorted. You basically have a roller shut door comes up, the van goes in, it shuts down. It's basically like a big garage. You get out, they take you into the holding cells, and the vehicle stays on. It's basically a secure vehicle transportation. Which take the holding cells when they go back to the jail. We've worked very closely with the Attorney's Office, and a lot of them, there's not so many advantages to that building. One, they're facing in other jurisdictions where you've got adult probation areas where you have child offenders and youth that are offenders that need to be go through the justice system. They're mixing. It's not good policy the way it's been operated in other areas. We've got the ability over here to actually have a building where adult probation can actually be utilized after hours. They tend to go past the normal 5 o'clock hour. And we have a wing on the new facility there that they can actually be brought in and taken away. And they're not mixing with any of the other visitors to the criminal justice center. So it's a really unique opportunity for the buildings that we have there.
As I stand here listening, I think a lot of things. One thing I'd like to just kind of point out is where we're going to go with everything. The old courthouse, the county judge, the county attorney, the county treasurer, and the county auditor will all be moved back into the old courthouse. Commissioner's Court and the county court will be held in what used to be the district court. Ms. Eva, the county clerk, with all of the land people, has been really overburdened with space. I mean, not enough space for quite a while. And so she will move into the old library and occupy it. At this time, Ms. Eva has things stored in the old cellar. There's a couple of connexes over at the sheriff's department. They're stored there. And the jail over here where the treasurer's office is, I mean not the treasurer, but the tax assessor collector is a jail, and all those cells are all full of different storage things. Where the adult probation office is now on the corner right across from the light company here will then become the county archives, which at this point in time release space from the Wilson County News for archives. The Historical Association will operate that along with the old jail museum that they operate. The DA's office is over on 3rd Street, right next to the mental health. And several years ago, whenever Renee Manuel was elected to the DA's office, the DA had always been housed in Atascosa County. But all of a sudden, we had a DA from our county, so we had to provide office space. So in doing so, we bought the old pharmacy, made that half of it into the DA's office, and the other half is the administration office for the mental health. Well, we're required each year to spend $70,000, about that, it can be a little less, a little more, on mental health. But the fact that we have that building and the mental health people had donated the clinic building across from where the old meat market used to be, that suffices as our share of that money. So we have been very frugal and look for every opportunity that we can to save money. And this is no exception, because right now, the interest rate is as low as it's going to ever be. We've got these facilities that already have the slabs and the brickwork and all in them. So, and concrete and steel is on its way up. Anybody that's in the building business knows that's a fact. So, if you're a conservative person and you choose to elect not to do this, well, it's going to cost more. Any one of these facilities could cost exactly what all three of them cost. So, and one other remark as far as the criminal justice facility, Judge Ray's, that one of the things that she was excited about, and I know this may sound weird, but where she held court before, she'd render a verdict, and if she had to use facilities, she may be in there with the defendant's family, you know, and this provides a restroom back in that area. So little things like that really are huge. The library, with the computer hookups and things of this sort, we've got people attending school in San Antonio. We've got homeschool people here that really utilize the library. And to bring this to the level that it will be is just a great investment in our future for the education of our local people to be able to utilize that. And one thing that's not really part of that, but it is too, our extension agent, Brian Brian Davis, came and asked if he could utilize a couple of those classrooms on this side to hold his classes for insecticides and herbicides and so forth, so on. And yeah, that's because he was having to move all of this material from one place to another. But he wants to do a master gardening program to develop that middle in there. And how neat can that be with your 4 acres and your library, you know, there together? I mean, it's a very neat concept. I see you looking at your clock there. You want to go to questions?
No,
I was just trying to cover, you know, I think it's so important. I think it's such a great opportunity for this county, and I'm excited about it. And I just really would like to see other people.
Well, this may be the time, because with the questions, it's probably going to trigger some things that you could even add more later. So what I'd like to do is jump into the prepared questions that the two sponsors have put together, and then I promise we'll give adequate time to any questions you have. So jot them down if you got them as we're asking questions. We may ask one that you're going to ask. So jot down what you want, and then we'll turn it over to you folks at the last part of the meeting. Will, who's going to kick off?
I'll start.
Okay, so Will will start off with the first question.
Okay, all right. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Judge, Commissioner Wiley, Assistant District Attorney Audrey Lewis, and Architect Lyndsay Thorn for coming out and answering our questions. The first question we'd like to ask is the public notice for the election for the certificates of obligation was published in the Wilson County News on October 9th, 2013. It listed 6 items to be financed with the certificate of obligation. These advertised items are as follows: restoration and renovation of the county courthouse, renovation, construction, and equipping of the Wilson County Annex No. 3 for a criminal justice center, county library, and county offices, renovation and equipping of existing county library for county offices, construction and equipping of a county animal shelter, construction and improvement of county roads, and the payment of attendant professional fees, services related thereto. Therefore, it seems like you were advertising 5 line items or projects along with the administrative cost. However, the county's website only advertises the first 3 can be funded at a current estimated cost of $8.5 million. The county's website does not mention the construction of an animal shelter and construction of new roads as part of the certificates of obligation. Additionally, the county website estimated the cost of the first three line items alone would be $8.6 million. Two questions arise. Proposition 1 of the public notice seeks to obtain the certificates not to exceed $8.5 million. Why is the certificate of obligation only $8.5 million when the county website estimates that 3 of the listed projects will cost $8.6 million? Next, if the certificate of obligation is passed, can you assure us that all 5 of the advertised projects, to include construction of the animal shelter and construction of the new roads, will be accomplished?
No.
It'll work.
They were, I'm sorry, Judge, I jumped in. They were never designed to be anything other than the 3 projects that are listed. The other items that were listed because our financial advisor said, if you're going to do a note for $8.5 million, if you do the 3 projects, and the projects extended, and the 3 projects end up costing $8.2 million, and you have $300,000 left. The question that Judge Quinney, I believe it was Judge Quinney that day in court, asked, if that is the case, then we can take the $300,000 and we can pay it back on the note. And the response was, no, you cannot pay anything above the minimum payment for the first 10 years. What you need to do is you need to list additional projects that you might want to spend money on if there is money remaining from the initial $8.5 million. And I have been an advocate for animal control, and I said, if we ended up with some money, then I would like to see that go toward animal control. And of course, roads are always an issue, so roads was listed, and whatever the third one was listed. But it was never designed to do anything other than the old courthouse, district court, and the library.
I'd like to share a correspondence that might shed a little light on it. Vernon Gorzell is our county auditor. Tom Poland is the attorney with Biggerstaff, Heath, Delgado, Acosta, LLP attorneys that we used in redistricting and other matters. Sent from Vernon Gorzell on Thursday, August 15, 2013, 9:56 a.m. to Tom Poland. Proposed proposition and valid language on the Wilson County Certificate of Obligations election. Is it at this point possible to remove number 4 relating to the animal shelter? The animal shelter has caused a whole new area of controversy in improving roads and payment of professional services with using the remaining funds. On August 15, 2013 at 10:02 p.m. Vernon, we have visited with the Attorney General on the language. If we are to have an election on the certificates, we must keep everything that was in the notice. The Commissioner's Court can represent to the public that it, if passed, it will not finance the animal shelter with the funds. It can also represent that it will not exceed more than the amount delegated. That would bind the court as a contract with the voters. Our only other option is to have a bond election rather than an election of certificate. To that, we would have to have individual propositions and specify how much money each would be assigned. Now, one of the reasons we haven't specified each, the courthouse itself has had some termite damage and other things, and the structure and everything, it's hard to designate. And by all of these, as I mentioned a while ago, the different things that would occupy the different things, one is like a domino falling, one is the other. And by being able to utilize this money in a manner that designates each we can get the most mileage out of it from different facilities, so. That answer your question?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. The next question is, each year, the county workers continue to get salary increases varying between 3 and 5%. Despite the county never having completed a classification and compensation study for its workers. Under state law, county judges serve as budget officers for their respective counties. This year, those employed under the purview of Wilson County Sheriff's Office, deputies and jailers each received a $3,000 salary increase, while the rest of the county employees received increases of at least 5% over their current pay level. The increased cost to the county for salaries, benefits, and insurance for the Sheriff's Office workers alone will be an estimated $254,000. First, how can you justify neglecting the maintenance and inspection needs of the current and future facilities in favor of arbitrary salary increases? And second, would it not have been more prudent to forego pay raises for 1 year and use those funds towards repairs?
Our employees are probably our most valuable asset. And we're losing employees at a fast rate to the Eagleford activities in the southern part of the county. The same skills that are needed to work in any business as far as computers and bookkeeping and so forth, so on, is here. Your commissioner precinct workers have to do everything from bury dead animals on the road to operate front-end loaders, maintainers, dump trucks, hold a commercial driver's license to do so, and would be in very big demand for other places. The salary that our employees receive is not in line with the private sector of people with the same skills. A few years ago, Atascosa County did a very in-depth service study that cost them something, at that time, $18,000. When they come back and told them, said, you need to be paying your employees more, but we don't have it. Precisely. So we do the best we can to keep them up. It's not nearly enough sometimes. But we do try to manage the needs of the county along with the employees, and like I said, it's very important that we maintain. Subpar employees can cost you a ton of money, lawsuits and other things, particularly when you're dealing with their freedom of movement and so forth. So that would be my answer to that.
But would it have been prudent to forego those pay raises for 1 year and use those funds toward the repairs?
No, we couldn't afford the loss of employees.
Thank you. Sorry to jump in there. Next question. It is our understanding that these certificates of obligation are secured by ad valorem taxes, better known as property taxes. Since these certificates become debt to the taxing authority, they become part of the first part of the tax rate calculations for subsequent years. If the voters of Wilson County authorize this certificate of obligation, what will the increase per $100 in our property taxes be, and for how long?
The longest it would be 20 years. It can be paid off in 10 years. And with the Eagleford, not knowing what the growth is going to be in the area, that's hard to say. I will say this, we're getting a 1,000-acre rail yard between Elmendorf and Suspamco to service the Eagleford. That will be on our tax roll. The refinery between Pandora and Dixon that we opened, that will be on our tax roll. Lavernia, Stockdale, and Floresville, their industrial parks and business parks have all experienced huge growth and big businesses coming in. So, and then the wells that's being made in the southern part of our county, we hope they move north, but the wells that's being made there is providing a great deal of tax base. So in all likelihood, not a promise, but in all likelihood, even with the voting of this in, your tax rate will probably be less in the future than it is now. Yes,
2.77.
on these brochures that we made, we listed the tax rate in Wilson County from 1998 through the present. It's always remained 0.4 up to as high as 0.46 and as low as 0.441. It dropped from 2012 to this year to from 0.4533 to 0.4364. Now, part of that is because we paid the jail bonds off. And we paid the jail bonds off early because the interest rate was down and we was able to refinance those at a lower interest rate, so we was able to pay them off early. I had one friend that had been in court for all of the meetings that we'd had. And on the bottom there, he had figured the tax rate at $2.42 when it was 2.42 cents. And he told me, he said, my taxes are going up $3,600. And so, well, he didn't tell me, he told someone else, so I called him. And by then he had contacted the auditor and they said, oh no, that's 2 cents, not $2. So it would be $36 a year. And then he went ahead and added the dollars, the 1.07 cents at the jail bond. So he said he was looking at 0.24, which, like I said, that's what you pay different. What I'm saying is with all the added tax base, it'll be less than that, but that'd be the difference.
On September 19, 2011, Commissioners held a special meeting